Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet. We're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, Alex Kolo. How's it going today?
It's amazing. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm very honored.
Absolutely. I'm excited to sit down and chat with you. I randomly ran across you on Instagram. I've tried to get better about being active on Instagram, and finding musicians like yourself has become a daily, not a daily task, but something that I try and do daily. And when I ran across your page and I saw you had some new music coming out, I was like, absolutely, we got to try and get something set up here. So
Yeah, I'm happy you did. I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
yeah, absolutely. So you're based in Nashville right now. You're going to school at Belmont. Where are you from
Yes,
originally?
I'm from New Jersey.
What was growing up like there? Was music kind of always there, or was that something you just kind of found on your own through your parents?
So I think I started getting acquainted with music when I was a toddler, actually, and I would really enjoy listening to it in the car. Then in like kindergarten and first grade, I became really infatuated with Hannah Montana, and I decided that I wanted to be a pop star. In terms of concerts, I would either have to go to New York City or Philadelphia for that because I live in a really rural area.
Gotcha. So it was a little bit of a hike either way to get to a
Hmm.
concert.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, and so then when did you kind of start to realize that you could sing, or music was something that you wanted to pursue?
I think when I was 9 and I started taking vocal lessons, we had a recital and I just loved the feeling of performing on stage. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to make this a part of my, not daily, but maybe like weekly life.
Okay. Was there what was it about the stage that just kind of grabbed your attention or had that effect on you?
I love being in a setting where I can send people a message and be heard. I just think that singing is something that's so emotional and the way that it's delivered is so important. And I just think it creates beautiful connections between people. And I have the opportunity to offer that to people when I'm on stage performing.
So that's really cool. And so then you said you started taking vocal lessons when you were 9, correct?
Yes.
Um, did you start picking up like a guitar or piano or something afterwards, or was it always just vocal lessons?
Yeah, so actually it's always just been vocal lessons. I'm unfortunately not very skilled at instruments, but I'm starting to pick up ukulele, so we'll see how that goes. Keep your
Okay,
fingers crossed.
that's cool. I've seen a lot of really cool YouTube videos of musicians just playing ukulele, doing cover songs with ukulele. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
oh. So so now that you're in Belmont, how long have you been going to school in Nashville?
2 years.
Okay.
Well, one semester I actually spent abroad in Berlin and I got to do an internship in the music scene, so that was pretty cool. But yeah.
That's cool. I was reading through your bio on Spotify, and it was just listing off all these languages that you spoke. And I was just like, okay, she's making me look like a moron right now because I can barely speak English, let alone a second language. So
Yeah, not at all. I feel like everyone has strengths and weaknesses. I actually can't even read a map. So I'm horrible at directions. Like living in Berlin, I can't tell you how many times I took the wrong train or took the wrong subway and got lost.
it's- now, are you of German ancestry, or is that just kind of where you wanted to go or ended up going for school?
So I have a little bit of German ancestry, but primarily my roots are Belarusian and Polish.
Yeah.
I ended up in Germany because of the language. I learned how to speak Dutch when I was about 15, and I went on a family vacation to Belgium and I just fell in love with the scenery. And I was lucky enough to have a mom who hired a tutor for me so I could learn the language. And German and Dutch are super similar, like Spanish and Portuguese. So I just decided that I wanted to learn another language and it would be easiest if I learned German. And there are a lot of exchange programs in Germany because the economy is just so strong and they're so present in Europe and the whole world.
Awesome, awesome. So you during your study abroad program, were you playing music or were you just kind of studying like music business? What was the program?
So I was actually studying some like history classes, but the program included an internship where I got to work for this awesome company called Framed Berlin. And what they do is they host concerts and art galleries in a really intimate setting in the city. So I was lucky enough to be able to help set up events, work at events. I got to talk to all different kinds of cool artists, and I also helped run their social media.
Nice. Nice. And so then so you're back now at Belmont in Nashville. How's Nashville been treating you since you moved there?
I love Nashville so much. The people are wonderful. I love the culture. It's so warm, and I feel like every other person there is a songwriter, or maybe it's just who I encounter. But I just love how normalized songwriting is and how much respect everyone has for songwriters, music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. How long when you started like singing lessons and whatnot, was it always the idea to move to Nashville, or was there like a trip that kind of what inspired you to move to Nashville?
So actually, it was a Google search. After high school, I took a gap year, and that was the first time I spent time in Germany. I was at a language school for a few months and I was trying to decide what to do with my life. And I knew that I really wanted to be a songwriter. And I looked up best colleges in the United States for songwriting, and Belmont popped up. So that's how it happened.
Nice. I The only reason I'm laughing is because my first move after college was something very similar.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
So long backstory short, when I was in college, I had the nickname King of Bullshit because I used to BS my way through classes. And so I had an internship where they would call me KOB, just as like, oh, here comes KOB, whatever. Um, and so I graduated a film major. So I had a film background and I was going to go into TV. And I just went to Google and typed in KOB, thinking there was a TV station with the call letters KOB. And there was. And I applied for a job there and I got a job there. And so then, yeah, that's what happened. So,
Well, congratulations on the job there and the film degree.
yeah, it was some years ago. I don't work there anymore, but that's just kind of a very similar background, and it was kind of funny as you were bringing that one up.
Yeah.
Um, so when did you kind of start exploring like songwriting? Because obviously you've got a new EP out that dropped last week. So where does like the songwriting start to come into play? Was that before you moved to Nashville, or something that you kind of started playing around with once you got to Nashville?
So a bit before Nashville, when I was 16 or 17,
Mm-hmm.
I started to struggle with some depression, and I found that I could really express myself through music, and I started writing poems, and then I decided that I wanted to start writing songs, and I'm really lucky because one of my mom's close friends is a songwriter, so she helped mentor me, and that's how it all got started.
Nice. And this was just a time where you were just kind of writing music with no like specific genre or anything in mind. You were just kind of getting some emotions out?
Yeah.
Awesome. And was it the move to Nashville that really helped you develop as a musician, where you kind of started trying to figure out who you were, or did you have a pretty good idea of what you wanted to be before you got to Nashville?
I think I had a pretty good idea of who I wanted to be before I got to
Mm,
Nashville, but I wouldn't have been able to make it a reality without the resources that Nashville has to offer.
for sure, for sure. So I brought it up a little bit ago, but you just finished the release of your EP, maybe one day. Um,
Hmm.
what's that process been like? How do you feel having that the full project out now?
It feels great. It's I started the project a couple years ago, actually. I recorded in circles way before I recorded One of These Days Amsterdam and I'm Sorry I Love You. But it feels so good to have a completed project out, and I really hope that my songs can resonate with people and hopefully help people.
So In Circles was the first song you recorded, but the last one you released. Was I seeing this correctly?
Yes.
Okay. What was it about that song that you wanted to hold off on putting it out?
I feel like In Circles is probably the song that makes me most vulnerable. And so I didn't want it to be my debut song.
Fair, very fair. Um, and so with the EP out now, it's been out about a week. Are you already looking at the next project, or are you kind of trying to figure out, okay, how can we continue to promote this?
So I'm looking at the next project, which is going to be an album that I'll release sometime in 2025. I'm really excited to take maybe one day and extend it into a bigger and a more meaningful. I'm still looking to promote my EP.
Fair, fair, fair. And are you playing, obviously, because you're still in school right now at this point, right?
No, I'm actually having some medical issues, so I had to take a break, unfortunately, but I'll be back in January
Got
and that I'll be playing gigs and shows.
gotcha, gotcha. Sorry about the medical. I know we had kind of talked about that off air a little bit, but
Hmm.
so kind of looking at the EP, how do you feel about the project as a whole? Like I listened to it and it sounds really good, really authentic.
Thank
With
you.
this being your first project, how do you personally feel about it? Just like looking at it as a from the outside looking in, I guess is the best way I want to kind of word it.
I really like it and I feel really proud of myself for being able to complete a project like that because I've never done anything like that in my entire life. I think it's cool and unique in the fact that there's like a trilogy of three songs, and then there's another song that's about something completely different.
Hmm. Very fair, very fair. What was like the biggest you said it was hard to do and you can't believe that you got the project. Was there like a big lesson that you learned creating this project, or something that you weren't thinking of as you were kind of in the process of releasing, like the entire process of putting the project out? Was there something you learned or took away from it?
I think just being patient and diligent because I'm the type of person that likes to get things done, and sometimes I have trouble waiting. And the process of writing a song is writing and rewriting and rewriting, and then before you go to the recording studio, it's like practice, practice, practice 1,000 times until it's perfect. Then at the recording studio, you have to do like 100 takes. So it's definitely taught me to be a more patient person.
Yeah, I think that's a lesson that a lot of young musicians learn, that is it's not always going to be a one hit take. Like you get it done in one take. It ever more often than not, you're gonna probably have to take that guitar or the guitar lick or the chorus or the whatever, and it's probably going to take you seven, eight, maybe nine times to get it just right.
Yeah, exactly.
So, now when you were looking, when you were starting out the process of making maybe one day, was the original idea to do an EP, or were you just kind of writing singles and then kind of realized, oh, hey, I got four songs, let's do this?
I was definitely just starting off with writing singles, and I think once I got to my second song, I realized that I had a lot more songs that I wanted to write and that I was interested in releasing an EP.
And before you released them, were you playing them at shows, or were they all 100% brand new as they came out and nobody had heard them before?
So they were all brand new. I've actually never played any of them live, so that's gonna be the next chapter of my journey when I get back to Nashville, and I'm super excited for it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to kind of see you get out there and play shows and kind of explore, because that's a whole different animal. As I'm sure you already know, it's a completely different animal and it's a new avenue of expression and stuff like that. And so I'm really excited to see how that plays out as you get back to Nashville and get back into whatever a normal day in the life kind of looks like, you know?
Yeah, thank you.
So outside of music, as you're transitioning from one EP to the next project, what do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do outside of music?
So, as we discussed, I really love foreign languages.
Mhm.
So I love traveling. I love studying languages. I love going to the gym and exercising. I like to read a lot. I love hanging out with my friends and my dogs.
Awesome. Where's one place you haven't had a chance to travel yet that you'd really like to?
I think Australia.
It it is like it is one of the harder places, not harder to get to, but because it takes so long to get there, it's like you've really got to have the time to kind of make a, what is it, like 15, 16 hour trip
Yeah.
worthwhile, you know? So,
Yeah. It also requires a lot of patience just to sit there for that long.
yep, yep. I've been trying to map out a trip to Australia myself, and every time I look at it, I just look at how long that flight is, and I'm like, the longest I've ever been in a plane for was Chicago to LA. Now times that by about three, and yeah, so
Yeah. I think you either have to sleep or find a bunch of really good movies.
right, right. Just make sure you have your iPad or your phone or whatever, and just anything you think you could want to watch, make sure you got it down. So
Yeah.
nice, nice. Um, so are you studying any new languages right now as you're kind of got a little bit more downtime with the new project out? Are you studying more languages, or are you kind of just trying to make sure focus on you and get your health back in order?
So a lot of my focus is on my health, but it's also important to me to like continue to indulge in German and Dutch so I don't lose fluency because
Mm,
it's definitely difficult like being in a place where no one speaks that language and you can't continuously speak it or hear it.
mhm. Absolutely. That makes all the sense. So, once you get back to Nashville, is that when you'll kind of start looking at the next project, or are you already like writing for it and stuff like that?
So I've already written a song that's going to be part of the next project that I'm super excited about.
And what's that process kind of like for when you're writing music? Do you find that you're uh have to be a little bit more structured with your, since you like in a normal setting when you're at school and whatnot, do you find you have to be a little bit more structured with your writing where it's like, okay, I've got from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., or are you able to be a little bit more free flowing and just when inspiration strikes you can kind of sit down and knock it out?
I think I can be more free flowing, and then when inspiration comes, I can get down a main idea, maybe a verse, melodies, a chorus, and then continue to work on the project whenever I want to. But I have never been in a situation where an idea has come to my head and I've been able to finish a song on the spot. I respect anyone who can do that, but I can't.
So as long as you kind of get the, as long as you get the whatever's in your head out, and then you'll just kind of piece it together as the rest of the inspiration kind of comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, awesome. But yeah. So I don't want to keep you here too much longer. I really appreciate your time. If anybody wants to check out maybe one day or keep a interact with you on social, any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Instagram at Alex Kolo Music.
Awesome, awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much. One thing I
Thank
do want
you.
to one thing I do want to do here before we wrap this up is, what's a piece of advice you have for the young musicians out there?
Be yourself, be authentic. Don't write songs that you think that will do good on the radio because I feel like people really connect to authenticity and you're gonna miss that element if you don't write from your heart.
Absolutely, I agree. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Thank
Eh,
you so much for having me.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.